Though this may look like a pirate's treasure, it's not. All this jewelry has one thing in common. Each piece is in need of repair. While metal is one of the world's most durable substances, even gold and silver suffer the effects of time and use. This ring, for example, has worn thin at the bottom of the shank, where someone's finger has rubbed it for years. This prong caught in some fabric and already worn, snapped off. Hinges, as you see on this locket, can break after years and years of opening and closing. Chains often break simply from the wear of a pendant always hanging in the same spot.
I'm Marion Macy. In this Rio Grande video series, Ed Friedman and I will be discussing the various jewelry techniques that we've learned over the years. In the first tape, we'll start by discussing the take-in of jewelry repair jobs and the considerations that you need to make before starting work. We'll also talk about various tools and their uses. We'll continue by getting into some of the refinishing and resurfacing of metals. And then we'll conclude by talking about some of the problems that you might encounter in doing jewelry repair. In the second tape, we'll discuss the repair of ring shanks. This will include sizings, replacing or repairing damaged shanks, as well as half shanking. We'll then talk about retipping and repronging in stone setting and other general repairs to stone settings. This will include replacing heads, as well as repairing ballerina and illusion mountings.
On the third tape, we'll be demonstrating how to replace findings, repair chains, and working on hinges.
Well, we've got our work cut out. Let's get to it.
I'm ready.
Great.
As a jeweler, whether you're working in a retail setting or not, you will at some point be asked to repair a piece of jewelry. Most jewelry worth repairing comes with a strong personal attachment from its owner. It's important that you respect this attachment with sound judgment and the ability to fulfill their expectations. A good experience will make your customer a strong advocate for your business. This first tape in the repair series is about how to accept a repair job. Tapes 2 and 3 will show you the actual repairs. In this tape, we'll be discussing important take-in procedures that will ensure customer trust. Then we'll take a brief look at the basic tools you'll need for most jobs, refinishing options you'll face, and some potential hidden problems you may encounter doing repairs.
Repair work varies quite a bit from custom work or building a piece from scratch. When you take on repair work, you're assuming the responsibility and the liability for someone else's piece of jewelry, and this may have quite a bit of value, both monetarily and sentimentally. You also don't know how the piece was made or if it was made properly in the first place, what sort of solders the original jeweler used on it, and what sort of metal problems might be in the structure of the piece. It's good to fine-tune your skills with practice projects first before you attempt these. You can design a number of projects that involve multiple solder seams or soldering heads in. This can also give you practice in retipping, which is another technical skill with the torch that you need to be proficient at to do good repair work. Doing multiple solder joints is another task that's real important to be able to do with the torch. Something such as this brooch, where a number of heads are soldered into the top, and then the pin stem is soldered to the back. You can also work on soldering small pieces to large pieces, and of course, chain repairs themselves are a necessary part of your practice. The more delicate a piece you can solder, the better you'll do on your repair work. Taking in repair work is an important part of your business. Even if you're primarily a custom jeweler, it's a good way to keep your customers by being a full-service operation for them. If they're happy with your work, they'll also tell their friends, and this will help build your business as well. Good morning, Mrs. Anderson. Can I help you?
Oh, good morning. How are you today?
Good.
You certainly have some beautiful things.
Why, thank you. Can I show you anything?
Not today, I wish. I just have something which needs to be repaired.
Okay.
This little ring, my daughter's been wearing it. It was her grandmother's, and she's somehow broken a prong. Do you think you could fix it?
I'm sure we can. Yes, I see there is one broken off.
It is very important before you accept a repair job that you can completely visualize each step of the repair process. Also, ask yourself if your skill level is adequate to the task at hand. Do you know how the piece was made and what metal or type of stone was used? Familiarize yourself with markings used on jewelry to indicate metal content, such as 925 for sterling and 14K for 14-karat gold. Other types of marks, called hallmarks, indicate the shop or maker of the piece and can indicate the age and quality of the construction. GF means gold-filled. Remember that gold-filled is a base metal such as brass, which has a thin layer of gold mechanically applied to it by heat and pressure. This layer commonly makes up 1/20th of the material, so it is thicker and more valuable than electroplated material. Because the gold is bonded with heat, it requires precautions against overheating when soldering. Be cautious about accepting repairs on pieces with no indication of the metal content. These may be alloys or plated metals rather than the metals they appear to be, and can be a nightmare for the jeweler. You may need to test the metal if you're in doubt with a gold or silver test kit. You need to be wary of silver-colored metals from Mexico and India, which, though they resemble sterling, may have low melting temperatures close to those of modern solders. To be successful at repair work, you need to have excellent control of your torch and the ability to accomplish very delicate soldering operations. It is important to have a familiarity with the working properties of various metals, particularly with gold, as it is the metal encountered most often in repair work. Also, is your shop properly equipped to do the particular repair job? It is not uncommon for a piece which has been electroplated to come in for repair. Benchtop plating is relatively inexpensive to set up in the shop, and there are several prepackaged systems available for this. A pen plating setup might be a good choice if you need to replate small items or pieces which are made of two different color metals.
Another question you might want to address is whether the piece of jewelry actually warrants the work on it. Sometimes the cost of fixing a piece far outweighs the value of the piece. However, sometimes there is a sentimental value with the customer and they want it fixed anyway and they're willing to spend the money for it. Some costume jewelry, which is a mass-produced, very inexpensive type of jewelry, has a low-melting base metal underneath a plate, and then stones that are glued in. Other pieces may have a metal that's of more value, but the stones are still glued into them. The metal in costume jewelry is usually of an unknown content, and no matter how careful you are and how low a melting temperature solder you use, you're likely to melt the piece anyway. Even if you can actually fix it, you probably will destroy the finish on it, which is generally put on in the factory in such a way that it's very difficult to reproduce it in your own shop.
Once you've determined that a piece merits repair and that you can fix it, be sure to make a thorough examination. Explain to your customer what you're doing and how you'd like to proceed with their permission.
But I like to check the stone first before I do that.
Never leave the room with the client's jewelry until you have identified the stone and determined the approximate worth of the piece.
And what does that little machine do?
It tests to see if a stone is a diamond or not. There's a slight scratch on the top of your ring, and there's no problems with working on it, but since zircons can also scratch, we want to make sure that it really is a diamond. Just a store policy of ours also.
Oh, I see. But it really is, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it is. So on this one, I'll go ahead and
Always fill out a separate job ticket for each item to be repaired. Make sketches so you'll know which envelope it belongs in later. If a sizing is involved, note which finger was measured. It's not unusual for a client to forget on which finger they were thinking of wearing the ring.
That sounds right on it. I'll go ahead and mark that in. And I've also noted the cost of the repair on here.
The back of this type of job ticket includes an area for noting the stone type, size, and unique characteristics. When the customer picks up the repair, have them sign the bottom to confirm that they have received their stone back. Use this area to note the materials and time used to make the repair.
Okay.
If I could just get you to fill out your name and phone number and
right.
sign that. Great, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh, I have this other ring I almost forgot. My husband's class ring, and he's gained a little weight in the last few years. This ring is a 10, and he'd like to have it made a 10 and a half. Can you do that?
Well, I know you're a good cook, so that must be what the problem is
thanks.
here. There won't be any problem with sizing that up, but I'll tell you what, on this, there's this dark background in the ring, and in order to repair it, I'll have to refurbish that once I'm done because it'll be removed in the process. So it may come back just a slightly different shade of gray in the background there.
Oh, well, that's fine. I think that's okay.
Great. That's no problem then. I can go ahead and get your address off of the other one, but I'll do a description here of what we're doing and the size. And do you know a value on this ring?
I really don't have any idea.
Probably about $600 would be an insurance value on that. Does that sound right?
Learning to assess the value of a piece requires that you be knowledgeable about gems and antique jewelry. There are many good books on both of these subjects. Use a 3-part job ticket like the Track It ticket that can be signed by the client